Today we're going to be talking about forgiveness in our health ministries time. And it's a topic that definitely we all have experience with, and it's most necessary for physical, spiritual, and mental healing and health. So time for healing. Forgiveness clears the path for love to get through. Jesus calls us to love one another, but how can we if we don't forgive them? Asking for forgiveness is a healing process. The words, "I'm sorry, please forgive me," makes one feel so good. At a family gathering, relatives were sharing things for which they were thankful for. One young man stood up and said, "I am so glad that my brother forgave you." And quickly another stood up and replied, "I am so glad that I have a brother to forgive." An unforgiving spirit is a problem for Christians and non-Christians alike. Families need each other, especially during these terrible times in our history. This is the time for healing. It is a blessing to be forgiven, but it is also a blessing to forgive. The definition of forgiveness. Forgiveness is bearing the consequences of another's wrongdoing and letting the wrongdoer go free. It's exactly what Christ did for us. Is there anyone that you need to forgive? Anyone that you can think of? Could be your parents, maybe, your workers, maybe a boss. Growing up teenagers, please have mercy on us. A demanding husband, maybe children pushing the boundaries. Last summer, Nicole and I had the privilege of going to Honduras for a mission trip. And little did I know that God had more in store for me than I had planned. We had a pastor there, a wonderful pastor, and they gave me a book on forgiveness. I had shared with this pastor some things in my past, and the book has really helped me heal. And I cannot express how much better I feel and how much of the load is off of my shoulders now. I'm going to give an example of cause and effect. For example, the cause could be someone rejects you. So now, in your heart, you could feel bitterness, for example. The cause and effect process is so destructive to us. We become captives. Our emotions and physical health are affected. And our productivity is slowed. Emotional healing needs to take place. There's a story, this lady, her name was Bonnie. She was diagnosed with cancer. And her doctor linked it to, believe it or not, her husband. Her husband was unemployed, and the doctor said that the stress levels, because of her husband's laziness, was causing her to have cancer. And this was quite a shock to Bonnie, and she did not believe that, and it was quite offensive. After surgery, Melissa, one of Bonnie's friends, offered a plan to get back at the staff that unjustly treated her husband without knowing the facts. But I love Bonnie's response. She stated, "I have prayed at the foot of the cross, forgive them, for they know not what they did to me." Remember, Jesus went through everything that we are going through. Proverbs 19:11 says, "A man's wisdom gives him patience. It is to his glory to overcome an offense," or overlook. Hostility and forgiveness. Most scientific research on forgiveness has focused on heart problems stemming from one kind of unforgiving response: hostility. When forgiveness increases, hostility and anger decreases. When hostility increases, forgiveness decreases. Some effects of anger, you may have experienced some of these. Your blood pressure will raise, ears may start to ring, stomach aches, problems, adrenaline rush, increasing blood sugar, lungs move oxygen more rapidly, and your blood coagulates quickly. Also has an impact on our mental health. When we don't forgive, the body responds physically, just as it would respond to stress. No wonder why we feel such a burden when we haven't forgiven. It's like we're under a huge load of stress the whole time. Impact on cardiovascular health. If you want to stay healthier, please forgive. The rush of stress hormones during stress reaction vastly increases the risk of coronary heart disease. We're going to look at the brain real quickly. We have the higher brain and the lower brain. The lower brain portion, because of stress, will shut down or lower the functioning capability of the higher. The higher being the will and the power of choice. Have you ever heard the saying that he was so mad he couldn't think straight? I'm going to share a story from the Holocaust. Very briefly, I'm not going to get into details because, as many of you know, the Holocaust was a horrific time in history. And I remember studying this in high school, and I would just come home and cry because of the things that these people went through. I could not imagine. In particular, for a young lady at the time, it was very horrific, and her name was Eva. She came with her family and left as the only one to survive. She saw her mom walk into the gas chamber and didn't come out. Beaten, mocked, and starved. You can only imagine the amount of forgiveness she had to find. It took her 40 years, though, of holding that anger until one day she finally realized she was held captive in the past. She processed all of the pain, made the choice to forgive, and now is set free from the prison. I cannot imagine how much better she feels. Ephesians 4:22 says, "And be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God, for Christ's sake, hath forgiven you." We create our own concentration camps. The things of the past and the thoughts that we continue to think about the things that we have not let go, those encamp us. Those make us prisoners. It's okay to go through anger. I went through some anger as well with my forgiveness last summer. But one thing that really helped me, and I encourage you to do this, is maybe if you can't confront the person, or even if they're passed away and you still have to forgive them, write a letter to that person and make it almost as if a prayer to God. Each thing that they've done wrong, put in that prayer and make a strong commitment to forgive each little detail. It's okay to go through anger about our past, but it's not okay to get stuck in anger. So the concentration camp is your own mind. And the key, it's in your pocket. Will you choose to get the key out of your pocket and unlock the door? Will you choose to forgive and be set free? Will you let the wrongdoer go free? Will you ultimately forgive others as Jesus has forgiven you of everything you have done wrong? That is my challenge for each of us today. Thank you for listening.